Solve parallelogram using its properties. Given rectangle ABCD where diagonal AC and BD intersects at M. If AC is equal to 20, BC is equal to 12, and angle BAC is equal to 30 degrees, find the measure of each given part. So since we are dealing with a rectangle, so we need to recall the properties of a rectangle. So these are the properties of a rectangle, and the properties of a parallelogram also applies here since rectangle is also a parallelogram. Okay, let's start with number one, the measure of AM. So we are referring to this uh, segment here. So since in our given AC is equal to 20, so therefore AM is 10, half of 20. Why? Because according to one of the properties that uh, the diagonals bisect each other in property 1b of a rectangle. So when we say bisect, it means it is cut into equal parts. So these diagonals BD and AC cut each others into exactly half. So the half of 20, since AC is 20, its half, which is AM, measures 10. For AD, so what we know here is since BC is equal to 12, it follows that AD is also 12. Why? Because BC and AD are opposite sides. And according to one of the properties of a rectangle, opposite sides are congruent. So it means they have the same measure. So if BC is 12, AD is also 12. For the measure of angle CAD, so we are referring to this angle CAD. So this angle. So what we know here is the angle BAC. BAC. So we are referring to this angle. And this angle is given, which is 30 degrees. If this is 30 degrees, the other part must be 60 degrees. So that 60 plus 30, it makes 90. Why should it make 90? Because it is a rectangle. And according to one of its properties, it has four right angles. When you say right angles, the measure of that angle is 90 degrees. Okay? So if it has 30 here, so the remaining angle must be 60. So that 60 plus 30 makes 90 degrees. So our angle CAD is 60 degrees. For the side BD, so we are referring to this diagonal BD. So this diagonal BD is also 20. Why? Since diagonal AC is 20, the diagonal BD is also 20. Because according to the properties of a rectangle number 3, the diagonals are congruent. It means they have the same measure. For the given rhombus ABCD, where diagonal AC intersects BD at point M. So we have an additional given here. AD is equal to 15, BC is 12, and angle BAD is 100 degrees. Find the measure of uh, each given part. So since we are dealing with rhombus, we need to recall the properties of a rhombus. So these are the properties of a rhombus. Additionally, the properties of a parallelogram also applies here since rhombus is also a parallelogram. So let's start with AB. So we are referring to this side. Since what we know here is AD is 15, AB is also 15. Why? Because according to property of a rhombus number 2, a rhombus has four congruent sides. When you say congruent, they have equal measure. So if this side is 15, the remaining three sides are also 15. Therefore, AB is also 15. So the measure of angle ABC. So we are referring to this angle, the angle ABC. So what we know here is the angle BAD. So BAD, this one from BAD. So we know that this angle is 100 degrees. Since angle BAD and angle ABC are consecutive, so angle ABC must be 80 degrees. So that 100 plus 80, it makes 180. Because they are consecutive, their sum must be, or the sum of their angles must be supplementary, and that is according to the property of a rhombus number 1, that the two consecutive angles are supplementary. Okay, so for the angle BAC, so we are referring to this angle, the BAC. So we are only referring to this angle here. So that measures 50 degrees. Why? We just cut 100 degrees into its half, which is 50 degrees, because according to the property of a rhombus number 4, each diagonal will bisect a pair of opposite angles. So when you say bisect, it will cut into equal parts, or it will cut into half. So half of 100 is 50 degrees. Okay, for the angle BMC, so we are referring to this angle BMC, this angle. So this angle measures 90 degrees. Why? Because this diagonal BD and AC, their intersection forms a perpendicular, and that is according to property of rhombus number 3. When we say perpendicular, those two lines that are perpendicular creates 90 degrees, or creates a right angle, wherein that right angle measures 90 degrees. And lastly, for a square ABCD where diagonal AC and BD intersects at point M, where AM is equal to 6. Now, find the measure of each given part here. So since we are dealing with a square, we need to recall all the properties of a square necessary. Okay, so let's start with BD. So BD, that is one of the diagonals. So what we know here is AM is equal to 6. So that AM is only half of this diagonal. So the other half must also be 6. It means the whole diagonal AC measures 6 plus 6, which is 12. So if it is 12, BD is also 12, since AC and BD are congruent, and that is according to the property of a square number 2b. The diagonals are congruent. For the measure of angle ABC, so we are referring to uh, this angle ABC. So that is 90 degrees. Why? Because according to the one of the properties of a square, that a square has 4 right angles. So all the angles or interior angles of this square are all right angles. So when you say right angles, it measures 90 degrees. And lastly, the measure of angle BAC. So BAC. So we are referring to this angle. Since we know that all angles are 90 degrees, so if it is 90 degrees, and this will be cut by a diagonal, and that diagonal will cut the angle into each diagonal will bisect a pair of opposite angles. So it means this 90 degrees here will be cut by this diagonal in exactly equal parts, or half of that angle, wherein that angle is 90 degrees, its half is 45 degrees.